I'm living my best life. Yeah, yeah. I'm living my best life. Made a couple M's, you know. I said, I'm living my best life. I said, I'm living my best life.
Welcome, friends, to Kiki's Keys to Unlocking Your Best Life, sharing stories of people who have been through their worst and are now living their best to give hope and inspiration to others. I am here today with a really great friend I've been getting to know over the last couple of months. Her name is Flagg. She is a life coach as well as an ASL interpreter. She's the owner of Hands at Heart Coaching, quite a survivor and resilient individual as I've been getting to know her. But even more, and like her brightly colored sweater today, she has a vibrancy and brilliance that just shines through in every conversation. So I had to invite you on to have that conversation with my listeners. Carly, welcome to the show.
Treat to be here this afternoon.
Oh, it's a treat to have you. And you're just like glowing with this aura of bright colors and vibrancy. And where do you get that bubbly personality?
I think it's just me. But there's been, a journey to get to this place where I feel like I'm the most me that I've been.
I love that. You are the most me that you have been.
Yeah.
That's great. You said it's been a journey. We talked a little bit about this, you and I, and that's where we related. You used to have really debilitating panic attacks.
I did for a season. Yeah. So
do you mind talking a little bit more what that was like?
Sure. It actually came on after I had a pulmonary embolism. So it was in the winter of 2013 to 14, and I was training to run a marathon, best shape of my life since or before. And I got home from a family trip and started having some chest pain and went to the hospital to find out I had pulmonary emboli all across my lungs. And I got to hear the phrase, "Did you know you almost died? Did you know you almost died?" multiple times over the course of the time that I was in the hospital and the following doctors. And I started having panic attacks after that. And they would just stop me in my tracks. I was a college professor, and I'd have to leave the classroom. It was awful. I got put on some various medications to support it, but nothing quite kept them from coming back. So I was really navigating this fear that I was constantly being reminded of, that I had just overcome or narrowly missed a very dangerous medical outcome.
And those panic attacks, talk about that. I don't even want to say irony because that sounds like it's humorous. It's not funny at all. It's incredibly scary.
Mm-hmm.
You feel like you're physically dying.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
How did you come to discover that they were panic attacks and you weren't following physical symptoms?
Well, that was the big challenge at the time, because, you get told, especially after a cardiopulmonary incident, that you need to be on the lookout for racing heartbeat, difficulty breathing, chest pain, all the things that come for a lot of people with panic attacks.
Profuse sweating, headaches.
Right, all of that. And I remember one time laying on the couch trying to figure out if I needed to go to the emergency room because I thought I was dying. It was like, this is it. Should I go to the emergency room? But I don't want to be told that it's not something, but I also don't want to be told that it is something. I remember just circling around and around and around and around and shaking. And it was horrific.
And we definitely want anyone who is going through similar, if you feel like you need emergency care, never stop from doing so. But I get what you're saying about that fear of going in and being told.
How many times was I going to go to the emergency room for this same stuff to be told,
Exactly.
You're just having a panic attack, go home. And there's nothing just about a panic attack. It is all encompassing. There's nothing about it that should be minimized because it is, it's terrifying. It's terrifying. And especially after you've come through a medical situation where, you have these words ringing in your head, you almost died. Oh, you're lucky you didn't die. People die from this.
Yeah.
It was terrifying. It was about, I would say 6 months when I was really in the worst of that. Yeah.
And you've really come from that point of view of both as a survivor, someone who could have very easily passed away,
Yeah.
that fear, as well as just as we continue to go on with our lives, we get closer to the thought of our own immortality and what is going to happen when we do pass.
Yeah.
To the fear of losing those around us.
Right.
Now, I get that third element real well. I get grief. I get loss.
Yeah,
I'm real good
yeah.
at helping people who are in that place in their life. But you have quite an amazing way of reaching out and teaching others how to reach out to those who are going through the dying process. What motivates you? Is it that experience, or is it more to work with those in that state of mind?
Well, I'll tell you, the thing that changed for me, and it changed on a dime, I had gone to several counselors, and each one had employed their arsenal against anxiety, right? So that we had done all of the tools for anxiety, and nothing was helping. And so I was asking to be referred, and finally, I asked someone to refer me to someone who had a little bit more experience. And she listened to my story. And she said, as I listen to you, I don't hear anxiety. I hear grief. What are you grieving?
Interesting.
And that question in that moment changed everything for me.
Did you relate to what she was saying, or were you coming at it saying, what are you talking about?
No, I knew the minute she said it, I didn't have one more panic attack after that. Not one. She had tapped into something, and it's not true for everyone. People's panic attacks come for many different reasons. But for me, it was a moment of hearing someone acknowledge unrecognized grief. And I was able to actually talk about what I was grieving. And the piece that was most important in that grieving, I had miscarriages, I had had a divorce, but the piece that was most important was that I was in the best health of my life, and I had a medical crisis, which meant I wasn't in control.
Oh, I think
And so
there
I
you
was
hit the nail on the
grieving.
head.
I was grieving the powerlessness that I had in
Right.
keeping the world safe and sane.
You were powerless. That is so significant. We've had people in this chair in this room with me. We talk about substance and about self-abuse, and the AA or the 12-step kind of structure is all about letting go of that control and turning it over to a higher power. I always tell people when they say, "Oh, people don't like change." Oh, yes, they do. Watch. As soon as that new iPhone 16 came out, guess what I turned off before the show today, right? We love change on our own terms. What we don't like is when things happen when we have no power or control over. We don't like other people pushing their change upon us.
Yeah.
That sounds similar to what you're saying.
It is. And that sense that life was going to happen in spite of my best efforts to keep everything the way that I wanted it. And it was so powerful for me to, in that moment, to hear that feeling of powerlessness be connected to grief. That I was grieving control. I was anticipatorily grieving my own death. I was grieving the lives of children that could have been. I was grieving
what ifs.
The what ifs, right? And being able to speak about the losses that I had as grief, even when they weren't about a traditional loss that we associate with grief, opened up for me a change, and it changed how I was navigating those moments of anxiety, those moments of sorrow, that whole season in my life. But it also changed things going forward for me. It changed how I was present with people, because I was able to let go of some of the urgency of my own agenda.
Oh, that's brilliant. That is really good. You can set your own fears, hopes, desires just aside to be open and listen to another being.
Yeah.
That just opens doors and hearts so much. So then you start, which brings us to Hands at Heart coaching.
Yeah, exactly.
We're going to take a short break here. When we come back, we're going to talk more about that coaching, what it looks like, and how others can tap into those same resources.
Beautiful.
Right after this.
Thanks.
We are living our best lives here on Kiki's Keys to Unlocking Your Best Life. Sharing stories of people who've been through their worst are now living their best. Here with Carly Flagg, a fellow BNI member.
Hello.
Member of Rainbow Connections, which of course we have a lot of BNI people here on the show.
Love it.
That's Business Networking International for those who aren't networkers. But that's how I got to meet you, Carly.
Yeah.
We're talking a lot about how you were having debilitating panic attacks following a heart procedure. And you had to come to terms with the fact that you were grieving.
Yeah.
And that was what helped you start to process and heal.
Yeah.
And now you're doing incredible things. You are the owner of Hands at Heart Coaching. And you are also training others. Talk to us a little bit about the doula training.
Sure. Yeah. So part of my work, and I view life coaching in its broadest sense, that life coaching is about all the parts of life. And sometimes that's the part at the end of our lives. And so I work with people as an end-of-life doula as well. And that's a newer role in my life. And I sit with and talk with and support people as they contemplate and think about what their life has meant to them and what they would like it to continue to mean after they're gone.
How did you get involved with that?
So I have some family members who work in hospice, and my mother had metastatic breast cancer, and she had cancer and managed and navigated her cancer for almost 20 years. And as I was spending time with her and being with her, I realized that I actually had quite a skill for being with people in the hardest parts of their lives. And I think it comes back to that being present without agenda, that I'm able to sit with people and listen and hear what's important to them and offer back what I hear. And that can help them begin to create a sense of overt meaning, a sense of known or understood meaning for the life they have lived, and an understanding that their life and contributions continue after they are gone.
That is incredible. I'm trying not to tear up, y'all. It's not very often that I become speechless, even on the show. But that is so powerful. I've heard of doulas before as being there for birthing for women who are having babies, and it's such a cliche. Oh wow, I'm stumped for words. This is a first. Like 34 shows, this is a first. To take that from that perspective of life coming in and being there as life is preparing that next journey. I didn't even know that those doulas existed.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's a very small number of people that do what you do.
It's growing. There's a growing movement, a doula movement, to help people be trained in how to be present at the end of life, even if they don't do that for work. We are not very good about talking about the last stages and chapters of our lives in the United States.
We are. People don't like talking about it, and it can be very cultural as well.
Yes, different cultures, different ways of approaching that. But the doula role, the doula mindset, is about being comfortable in having those conversations as death being a part of life.
We, yeah, guys, this is funny. I don't usually get so stunned. It's just very, very powerful. I've been there. I've been there when my uncle was passing, and I've been there when my best friend's mother was passing.
Yeah.
And that's just such an honorable position to be welcomed into. And so I just really think what you're doing is phenomenal.
Thank you.
How can someone get more involved if it's something they want to learn more of, or if they just want to learn more about how you can help another family?
Sure. So right now I'm actually, we're starting on Wednesday. So you're in the last couple days. If you're really interested in learning to be a doula or have that mindset, I'm partnering with Harmony Community Healthcare and Harmony Community Foundation to run a 4-month training for end-of-life doulas. So if you're interested in that, send me an email right quick, and we'll get you signed up for the Wednesday start. But you can also just reach out to me or to anyone at Harmony specifically. I know is working with doulas, but other hospices around town also work with doulas.
And what is your website so people can find that and your email and contact information?
So my website is under development.
Oh,
so you're
okay.
going to go, and it's not going to be a great website to look at just
so probably
yet.
better share your email address.
But my
then.
email address is carlyflagg@handsatheart.com. And anyone's welcome to reach out to me. I'd love to meet and greet people, see where I can step and come alongside them or their families as a coach or as a doula, as a grief support specialist, whatever way I can be of service.
That's great. So that's Carly Flagg, CarlyFlagg at handsatheart.com.
That's right.
And you're also on Facebook.
I am. I have a little growing group on Facebook and on Instagram. But right now, it's mostly reach out to me. I am very individualized in my approach to people, and so I'd love to start from a really individualized place.
And at the end of the day, when you're looking back and you know you've helped someone throughout that day, what stands out in your mind the most when you rest at night? What is that one story or that one touch you had that you carry with you always?
I have been working with a client we're not doing end-of-life work, we're just doing coaching work. And we were talking about some of the challenges that she feels with feeling good enough to do her work, the work that she does. And we did a lot of talking about the support that she needed to go forward. And she sent me a text message 2 or 3 days later and said, I want you to know that I have for 20 years behaved the same way in the meeting I just came from. And today I did something different and everything changed. And so I want to thank you for being present with me. And that for me is what it's all about when I've sat with someone and they have figured out what they needed. And I've been able to just be a place for them to say those words, maybe for the first time, and to have everything be different in the way that they want it to be.
In the way that they wanted it to be. They're going for their goals. Sometimes we get burned out. We feel like it's not attainable anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think we talked a lot, too, about imposter syndrome. Did you have a class that you're doing on imposter syndrome?
I do. It's one of my big areas of focus.
This kind of reminds me a lot of that. Why do you think we do that? Why do we build up so much negativity in our own minds to hold ourselves back?
To protect ourselves. To protect ourselves from failing, to protect ourselves from being hurt, to protect ourselves from disappointment. We're built to look out for the snakes. And so when we see a stick, we always are going to think it's a snake first, because sticks don't bite. So if we look at a stick and think it's a snake, we're going to be safe. We look at a snake and think it's a stick, we might get bitten. So we're predisposed to see that negative stuff.
But running away from sticks gets exhausting.
It does. And so we really have to figure out how we can look more clearly at what's lying in front of us and see, when do we need to move and when do we need to proceed.
And how does one start that?
I think beginning to look at what's real right now in this moment. And that's where I start with my clients, is we start just by talking about what's real, what's true. right now. And it's actually a tool that I use with a lot of my clients is asking yourself that question. What's real right now? And sometimes it's just what's real is I have a bottle of water in front of me. That is real.
Or I'm feeling sad right now.
I'm feeling
That is
sad.
my
That's
real.
where we get when we can start with something simple. I'm holding a purple pen. That's real. And then
And
we
I'm
start
glad
to
you
go.
say pen, because you're talking about where you start with your guests.
Yeah.
With my clients, I always have my Kiki's key, and Kiki's key number one is if it isn't written, it didn't happen.
Right. Yeah.
And I would
love
say
that.
whether you're dealing with a financial goal or a life goal or a business goal, you have to have a roadmap. You have to have it written down. And sometimes it just starts with journaling, picking up a notebook and a pen at the end of the day and said, this is how I feel today. This is what happened today.
Right.
Because you have to be able to see what's real.
And when we can look at what's real, just, for me, what was real was grief in that moment. And it changed everything to look at what was real. And that grief was real for me. And sometimes in that moment, sadness is real. Joy can be real. And we might not be comfortable embracing that. But sometimes we have to start so small. What's real? I'm holding a purple pen. What's real? I'm sitting in a gray chair. These things are real. Okay, now what else is real? That's that I am connected to the person in front of me. What's real? That I feel sad. What's real? The real thing is I want to feel happy. Right.
And before we go, again, the website, email address is Carly Flagg, CarlyFlagg at hands@heartcoaching.com.
Nope, just hands at heart.
Forgive me.
Hands at heart.com.
Hands@heart.com.
Yeah.
And what is, in your last words for the show, your best life? What does that look like for you?
Taking it one breath at a time and finding joy when it's in front of me.
Taking one breath at a time and finding joy that's within you. That's great. I hope you guys take those words to heart. They come again from Carly Flagg. Thank you so much for being on the show today. It's been just a real honor to have you on. So again, this is Kiki's Keys to Unlocking Your Best Life, sharing stories of people who have been through their worst, are now living their best. We're on live every Saturday at 4 o'clock on KVOI The Voice in Tucson. It's 10:30 a.m. You can also catch our shows on YouTube at Kiki's Keys Life, or you can find me on Facebook at Kiki's Keys and soon to be on Instagram as well. Or you can visit my website at www.kikiskeys.life. And until next week, folks, go out and be the best you can be, because nobody else can do it better than you.